something that
Okay, so I think the stream's working now. If you're watching, I'm not sure about the quality. The network's being weird right now. I've never streamed from this location. So let me know what the quality's like. I don't think I can do anything about it, but let me know if you can hear me. And any questions you have, put it in the live chat. At the end, I'll go through all the questions, and I'll try to get to everything that I can. I'm going to talk for maybe about 30, 40 minutes, and then see if there's any questions. And if you're joining me from earlier today when I did a stream, welcome. If you're from India, why are you still awake? It's like 4:30 a.m. in India right now, somewhere around there. Okay, so I'm Jesse, and like I said before, I work in marketing. I build websites. I've been doing this for 5 years full time. So I'm working at the university for 2 years. Before that, I was freelance. So I just want to go through with you a little bit about what I do and some just general advice for setting yourself up to get a good job. And then I'm going to talk about some opportunities, things you could do right now to build cool things, get some stuff on your portfolio. All right, so I'm a front-end developer, and some of you probably know what that means. Basically, the code that runs in the browser. So JavaScript, HTML, CSS, that runs in the browser, that's my domain. I do some back-end stuff, so the stuff that runs on the server when I have to, because we don't have a back-end dev in Marcom. I do some DevOps stuff. I set up some Linux servers, but majority of my work is front-end. And I build, a lot of stuff that I build for the university is for faculty and staff. So I'm not sure how much you've seen that I've built, but I just started work today on a new redesign for Franciscan.edu. So you all will see that. It's going to be completely redesigned, all the way from the servers, all the way up to the design, front-end stuff, everything. Database is going to change, content management system, so open. It's all going to be done by the middle of February. So, yeah, ambitious.
Next 2 years.
2018. February 2018. So, yeah, it will happen. So, yeah, if anybody wants to be a part of that, let me know. But, I guess let me start out with just some things to help you get, that you can do right now that will set you up to get a job later on. So, biggest thing you can do, build stuff. Just build stuff that actually works and people can see. Tutorials are great, and you can build up your skills, but employers want to see like actual stuff that you can build. I recommend going on GitHub. If you don't have a GitHub profile, definitely get a GitHub profile. When you're on GitHub, you can contribute to other people's projects. If you don't want to start one on your own, which I definitely recommend, contribute to open source stuff. Companies love when you contribute to open source. I know Free Code Camp gets a ton of contributions from people. They welcome a lot of contributions. I live stream for them every day over from my office in Marcom, and if you're new to making contributions to open source projects, that's a great place to start. You can also start with our university projects. Everything that I work on is open source, and we have a repository. And yeah, I welcome beginners, especially to do pull requests, and I usually help everybody out to learn how to do that process. Hackathons too are a great opportunity. I just got an email today from a hackathon that said, if you win this hackathon, they will interview you for a job. I almost was going to give you guys all the link, but it's a job in their Bangalore office. And I'm like, all right, I don't know if anybody wants to move to Bangalore. So if anybody really wants to, let me know. I'll forward you the email. But that's cool. That's legit job opportunity if you win a hackathon, and they're fun. And then also do networking. for me, this is like the hardest one, right? I like to sit in front of a computer all day. Actually, like going out and talking to people, I like it, but if I had to choose, I want to write code, right? So conferences are great. Go to conferences, talk to people in the hallway. You'll get a connection. You'll meet people from other companies you might want to work at, and then you can extend that and talk to them on Twitter and stuff, and keep those relationships open. That's a great way. And then if you want to get a job at the company they work at, now you have somebody to vouch for you. And you learn stuff at the conferences, and they're usually fun. Online forums are good too. So a lot of people can't make it to conferences, but they're a great forum. So the Free Code Camp forum is huge. A lot of people in there. And that's actually how I ended up live streaming for Free Code Camp, because I said in the forum, hey, I'd like to live stream my code. What do you guys think? And then Free Code Camp said, well, why don't you do it for us? So that was pretty cool. And their channel has 215,000 subscribers right now, so way more people than I would ever get on my channel. So that's cool. There's opportunities like that, if you just kind of put your ideas out there. So I'm trying to read my notes. Why don't I just increase the font size? What am I thinking? I suspect that the stream is not doing very well. I'm getting this big message, this red message on YouTube saying bad. Stream quality bad. So oh well. Twitter is a big thing. So for sure with front end stuff, web stuff, Twitter's huge. I don't know so much like other areas, but everybody's on Twitter. I don't know why it's Twitter, but they all talk about all this tech stuff on there. So I never really cared about Twitter, but I'm on Twitter for that. So go on Twitter, find out who like the big people are in whatever particular branch you want to go into. Follow them, and then just start talking. People will get to know who you are that way, and I get tweets all the time from people saying like, "Hey, I'm looking for work," and I retweet them. People retweet them. You could get say what you do and what kind of work you're looking for, and now all of a sudden you have 20,000 people just saw in the industry just saw that tweet. So really good opportunity, and Stack Overflow. So go on Stack Overflow, make an account, and then answer questions. So it's a great resource to use, but if you answer questions, you can build yourself up as an authority on a certain topic just because of your questions, and employers can look at that. So those are my kind of basics. You can probably get more specific if you really going for a niche. There's different things, but just in general, no matter what you want to get into in the computer science realm, those are pretty solid things that you can do. And the only thing on top of that is I would say keep learning, right? Which right now you're already learning all the time, so you probably don't want to leave class and then go learn more. But especially on breaks and once you graduate, keep learning, because I don't have to tell you, everything changes so fast. You gotta keep up. So my favorite thing is online courses. So there are a ton of free online courses that are great. I know I keep mentioning it, but Free Code Camp's great. Their curriculum, their videos, everything. Udacity. If you haven't heard of Udacity, check that out. That's a really great resource. It's actually my favorite, the best learning management system that I've ever seen is Udacity. It's really cool. They have a lot of free stuff too. They have some paid degrees, which are really cool because you'll get code reviews from people, which will push you to make your code better. I just got a nano degree in React, and I turned in a project thinking, oh, this is good, I'm going to pass. 5 reviews later, it's way better than it would have been. I just opened things. It's just me looking at it. But coding boot camps, I'm personally not a fan of coding boot camps, but it depends on your learning style. If you need structure, do a boot camp. If you can handle going online and doing your own thing, that's great. Now you all have the advantage of the degree, right? So if you were to do a boot camp, it would be I want to get a job doing this, and I need like an intensive few weeks to learn it, right? There's a lot of people go to boot camps that don't even have a college degree at all, and they need something. Also, read other people's code. So you can go on GitHub, read people's code. It's hard at first, but you'll learn so many things. Like, oh, why did they do it that way? But, and I learned so much from. I have to review all the pull requests that come in for our projects. Like, I can't just merge something in unless I read every line of code in case somebody's trying to do something weird. And I have to learn how they did it. So just reading through other people's code you learn so much. And then have other people read your code. So put your code out there, have it on GitHub, put it on Twitter, like, hey, anybody want to review this? Here's the link. Get people to check out your project. And don't be afraid to do that. I was super afraid to have anybody look at my code just last year. I was still super afraid. I would have private projects, private repositories. I paid the $7 a month to get the private repos on GitHub so nobody would see my stuff. And I didn't want anybody to look at my code. And then I had the weird, crazy idea to start live streaming in May. And now everybody looks at my code. And I feel like an idiot every single day. But my code is so much better. And I've learned more in the last few months than I learned in the last 2 years before that. So people are really cool. I've had one bit of negative feedback that actually had to do with my code in this whole time of live streaming. And that was, I was using jQuery in a project and somebody didn't like jQuery. Like, why would you use jQuery? That was it. All the other negative feedback I've gotten is, you talk too much, just code more. And I usually say, you're right, I feel the same way.
You did that too.
Yeah, but it's amazing. I was always afraid, thought people would be like, dude, your code's terrible, like, what are you doing, you should just quit. No, everybody is just super positive. So maybe I just got lucky, but I think people will be more helpful than you realize.
Can I
Yeah.
do a little bit?
Yeah.
One thing that it's really good to read those people's codes, especially in the sort of blog things, where there will be a teaching lesson or a tutorial, and then all these people will answer that. And people will write a couple lines of code about this or ask a question about that. And eventually you get to the point where you say, I know better than that. But they'll ask questions that, of course, why don't you do it this way? It's always sort of, you'll be really positive. It'll be positive reinforcement for you when you realize that you're a little above what some of the other people are asking questions that you could answer.
Okay. Sorry, I was just checking on the stream. Evidently, they can hear me, but the video keeps freezing. So, all right, guys, on the live chat, for some reason the chat wasn't coming through my other window, but I opened a new live chat window. So as long as you can hear me, I'll keep going with it. Really sorry about the video. All right, so I kind of like to just talk about the new cool stuff that I'm working on with Marcom, and then some of the other stuff that I'm interested in, but can't seem to convince my boss to let me work on. So I just kind of want to give you, number one, this is a little like sales pitch for me. Like, anybody want to come work for Marcom? Like swap worker or volunteer. So, so I'm going to try to bribe you with technology that'll look good on a resume that I happen to see in a lot of job descriptions that pay a lot. So. Number one, I'm going to split this up into web development, mobile development, and then just other stuff. So for web development, we use React.js, which it's been around for a couple years, but it just keeps growing and growing. So if you're not familiar with React, it's a JavaScript library. There's a debate about library framework. I'm going to say library right now, and I'm sure they'll let me know in the live chat if that's the wrong term. But it, without getting too much into detail, it allows you to do things really fast in the DOM. So normally the DOM, I figure you Sorry. If I ask you that, it's not because I think that you don't know it. I just would rather check. So anyway, so the DOM, normally when you're making a web page, like if something changes, the DOM has to refresh, right? React keeps what's called a virtual DOM. That's just JavaScript. The DOM, okay, document object model. And if you're taking notes, like feel free to take notes, but this is all going to be available, at least the audio, on my YouTube channel. So anyway, if you don't want to take notes now and you'd rather just listen, you can do it again. So anyway, when you have a copy of the DOM that's just JavaScript and you change it, it can change super fast. Like it can re-render way faster than the normal DOM can do in the browser. So what React can do is compare the two and only change little bits instead of having to refresh everything. So you end up being able to make changes a lot faster. So I'm sure it's way more technical than that, but I know that that works, and so it does. So some examples of this in real life are Facebook, Instagram, Netflix. GoDaddy's site is now in React. Let me think. I keep seeing more and more sites in React, but I mean those are pretty huge sites, so I'm sure you've all seen them.
That's the way video compression works too. Changing this apart. Updating this part just that changes. The background would be one screen, leave it there, and then update.
That's cool. Yeah, so we do work with React, and if you're interested at all in front end or JavaScript, definitely recommend checking out React, because I just saw a React job where the person that gets this job will be doing exactly the same thing that we're doing over in Marcom, but the salary range is $100,000 to $145,000 a year. You can work from home, never have to go anywhere. The average salary in the United States for a React developer is over $100,000, which stinks if you have to move and live in San Francisco, because you could afford like a box for $100,000 in San Francisco. But if you can stay, like, for instance, in Steubenville, where you could buy a house downtown for 50 cents, you can buy it for like $10,000, really. But serious, I wouldn't want to live down there, but you know, you can stay here and work from your recliner, you know, in your pajamas, and make money like that. It's crazy. So anyway, it's a field where there's more jobs than developers right now. So really cool to get into if you're interested in front end stuff. The cool thing about React too is, and I'll mention this when we talk about mobile dev, is React lets you write in JavaScript, but it can compile to anything. So it doesn't have to compile to HTML. It can compile to C# or Java or Swift or anything you want. You can compile React to Word documents if you really want to. Somebody wrote a program to do that. I don't know why you'd want to, but you could do it. So it allows you to be really versatile, but you only really have to learn one language, and you could do all this stuff.
You talked about that, compiling it to, what would you want to?
Oh, so for instance, I'll skip a little bit ahead and talk about mobile development. React Native works nearly the same as React. There's a few differences. If anybody really wants to know the differences, I did do a video on it. Type in free code camp React Native, it'll probably come up. There's a couple differences, but basically it's all the same principles. So if you know React, it's not hard to learn React Native. But when you go to convert it into something that will work on a phone, it converts to Java on Android and Swift on iOS. So it's not a web app on a phone. It's a native application with all the benefits of a native application. You have access to all the hardware on the phone. Whereas before, people would use things like Ionic and PhoneGap, and you could make a nice app, but it was always limited because it couldn't do everything that a native app could, right? But now you can be a mobile developer for iOS and Android and not have to learn Swift or Java. So really cool. I just built a flashcard app in React Native as my final project for a React Nano degree that I did. And it was really cool. I just have my phone like plugged in, and I'm developing in JavaScript, and I see it refresh automatically in an app. And I can click around, and It's like, it's really fun. And if I had to learn Java well enough to do that, like it would have taken me a year, you know, but it took me a few weeks. So anyway, I mean, obviously you all can tell I'm a JavaScript guy. I don't have anything against other languages. I think it's great that I can learn one language, do front end, back end, and mobile development with one language. Like, I think it's efficient. More cynically, it's lazy. I still want to learn another one, but yeah. But if you're cool with JavaScript, then there's a lot of opportunities to do other things with it. You can also do like front-end web development is entering into some new territory with VR and AR experiences in the browser. So on your newest versions of, let's say, Chrome, you can embed VR and AR experiences right there in the browser. So the user comes to your website, there's a little box, and you want to do this, enable this, and then all of a sudden you have this. And it's really cool. So once again, with just web technologies, your basic web front-end stuff, now you're into VR and AR stuff. Are you going to have the same experience that you would on like something native desktop? Not yet. But browsers are working at it. So like you have to get to, I think is it 90 frames or 120 frames, or else you'll make your users throw up in virtual reality. It does. It's a frame rate thing, whether or not you get motion sick. So they're struggling to make the browser fast enough. At least they were. Maybe, and this was months ago when I was learning the latest, so maybe they did it by now. But that's kind of the last hurdle to that being available. And I mean, think how amazing that is. Like, you don't need special software or anything. It's just right there on the web. So that's really cool, especially from mobile, right? I mean, AR really you want a phone, you want a mobile phone. AR on a desktop is like, what? Going to be on your webcam. I guess webcam could do cool stuff, like, I don't know, like Instagram filter type thing. But anyway, the only other technology I'm going to talk about for front end is something called GraphQL. Has anybody heard of GraphQL? Yeah, I didn't expect anybody to hear about GraphQL. So it has been around, but it's usually the only people that talk about it a lot are people who are already working with React. React and GraphQL both were developed by Facebook. And so are you familiar with REST APIs? Anybody know that? Are you familiar with APIs in general? Okay, so really quick break. No, this is totally fine. There's like so much to learn. Like, you can't learn everything. So this is great because like everybody knows a little bit, share it and everything. So I will share with you APIs. So basically, like, let's say I have a database. It doesn't matter. It could be MongoDB, SQL, whatever. Instead of directly interacting with the database, I write some code. It could be in any back-end language, right? So you could do Node if you like JavaScript, PHP, whatever. And basically what it does is it listens for network requests. And if you make a certain request, it goes to the database, pulls the data, and then sends that request in whatever format you tell it to send the request in. Usually JSON format. At least that's the kind of the current format that everybody's using. So the standard, what was the standard for the last couple of years was a REST API. There's an older API called SOAP, but I never really used that. It was kind of like before my time. There's a REST API. Basically, you predefine routes in your API, and then users who are going to consume your API and get your data are limited to just those routes. And each route gives you certain data, which works great. But what if you need data from like 5 routes, client side? Now all of a sudden, your site loads, and you have to make 5 network requests back and forth to get all that data, right? That's no good. GraphQL is a declarative API. So you tell the GraphQL API exactly what you want, and it gives you exactly the data you want. So now you have one network request with everything you need, and none of the stuff you don't need. Because the REST API, if you need one thing, if you're getting like a contact list, all you need is first name. They send you first name, address, mother's maiden name, like phone number, everything, right? You don't need all that stuff. So this is much more efficient. So I just mentioned that because GraphQL is one of those new things that's obviously better than what's out there right now, and it's an opportunity for somebody who's interested in that kind of thing. Like you want to kind of be in the front-end world, but you like back-end stuff too. That's the bridge, right, between back-end and front-end, these APIs. So if you're interested in stuff like that, GraphQL is the way to go because people are looking for people who know GraphQL. There's not a lot of people out there. All right, so let me just have a little bit more, and then we'll get to the questions and stuff. So mobile development, I already talked about React Native, so I'm not going to talk about that again. But I do want to mention Kotlin. Is anybody into mobile app development stuff? Anybody like that? Okay. Well, anyway, I mentioned earlier that on Android you write apps in Java, but they've come out with a new language called Kotlin. So if you are interested in mobile development, specifically Android development, try out Kotlin. They haven't said it's going to replace Java yet, but I personally think that's kind of the way it's going. So I haven't tried it out myself, so I can't say anything more about it, but that's probably what you want to get into. And then for mobile dev too, augmented reality is like huge, and you have both Apple and Google are like making it easier for developers to make things in augmented reality. They're betting that that is going to be huge. So if you think that's cool, you want to get into that, then those are the mobile dev areas that I think React Native, Kotlin, augmented reality stuff. Going to be a lot of jobs for that. It's cutting edge stuff. The other stuff I want to talk about is really cool are AI, so artificial intelligence, machine learning, self-driving cars, and big data. So if you're not interested in the web at all, which is fine, and you like more of like the hardcore like back-end stuff, like I just want to look at a terminal all day. I actually look at a terminal all day too, but so obviously, like everybody's heard about all the artificial intelligence stuff. Everybody has an AI now, right? IBM has Watson. You got the Google Assistant, Siri. Amazon has Alexa. Even Salesforce has Einstein. Yeah, Salesforce has Einstein now. So it's like everybody's coming out with their own AI, and they're all racing to make it better. Tesla has one too, but I can't remember what it is. What's that? Domino's has one? No way. So even Domino's has one, right? So that's huge. There are people who are... All right, so one example, Carnegie Mellon, just, not that far away in Pittsburgh. I think it was Google, came in, hired everybody in their computer science department that knew anything about AI. Just cleaned house, hired everybody, gave them enough money to have them leave, and they're all working for Google. I mean, like, that's the story. Maybe it wasn't like that, but that's what was going around not that long ago, that's what happened.
Microsoft used to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Google put their Pittsburgh location near Carnegie Mellon for that very reason, to be able to grab up, the people like that. And it's all because there's just not enough people that know anything about it. So it's huge. If you know something about it, like, you're going to get a job, and you're going to get paid a lot. The same thing with self-driving cars. Everybody wants self-driving cars. All the major car companies are trying to get into that now. Of course, Google has theirs. Apple even had a self-driving car thing. I don't know if they're still doing it or not, but they had it. And not just self-driving cars, but to extend that to like drones, self-driving drones, delivery drones for Amazon. Even like right now in Pittsburgh, Uber is testing their self-driving cars in Pittsburgh. So that's huge because that's just such a new thing that people aren't trained in it. So I think that's really cool. If I had all the time in the world, I might get into AI self-driving car stuff. It's just like futuristic sci-fi. It's really fun, right? And then big data. To me, big data sounds the most boring out of all the stuff, but there's a ton of money in it. Like that's how like these huge companies are making so much money. They have all this data. You need that data to be able to train your AI to do anything. So whoever has the most data can get the best AI, and it's just everything feeds off each other. So anyway, that's my advice, I guess, for the future for you all. Hopefully I hit on some things that you may be interested in. And if I didn't, feel free to ask me. So I'm going to kind of open it up to questions or whatever. And let me get my live chat window up here too as well. So anybody watching online, if you all can still hear me or maybe even see me, let me know what questions you have. Put them in the live chat now, and I'll try to answer them. And does anybody have any questions? Anything?
Well, in the area of big data, actually, is it correct to say that big data arena is a read-only? People are not. So all this data, the big data arena, comes from transactions over here.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
in a data warehouse type.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, the companies that can control and get the data, right? Like, so many things are free from Facebook and Google and everything, but they're free because they can make money off of the data that you agree to share. So, you're paying for it, but just in another way, because like you can't sell our data. There's not really a market for that as far as I know. So I'm fine with that transaction because what am I going to do with it? I'm also not doing anything illegal or weird, so I don't care if they know about me. But yeah, it's more like the data is useful for things, but I'm trying to think, what is it? Is it Python? I think Python is the language that people are using that I'm hearing about the most for big data stuff. So if you like Python, check that out. I actually think Python's really cool. I love all the indentation. You don't have to have a bunch of semicolons and stuff. You can actually code pretty decent Python on your phone. Otherwise, if you got to keep switching your keyboards to use all those special characters, it's insane. Like, you can't do anything else. But I once took an intro to computer science course, which I never finished. But we was in Python, and I did the whole first part of the course on my phone, laying in bed at night. It's really cool. I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this on my phone. All right. So any other questions?
Besides React, you listed several other ones that really popular in the summer, stuff that you.
Oh yeah.
What, can you remember that? Or is that or has some of that gone away so quickly?
Yeah. So some of the other things, I talked about Angular, didn't I? Angular, right? So Angular, I guess, is somewhat comparable to React. There's some differences. They're not directly comparable, but basically people usually compare them directly. So Angular is developed by Google, and it's another framework or library based in JavaScript. It has a different philosophy from React. At least I haven't worked with Angular since Angular 1. 5 just came out. So I'm not completely up to date on what's new with that, but at least Angular's thing back in the day was two-way data binding. You change something in user input, and it just immediately changes your data, and vice versa. It's just like that was kind of the cool thing that Angular could do, among other things. React's thing is a one-directional data flow. So it's like a whole different way to think about things. There are still a lot of people that do Angular, and people making good money doing Angular. I get questions almost every time I stream about, are you going to do something with Angular? What do you think? React versus Angular? So there's still a lot of people interested in Angular. I know a guy who lives in Steubenville. Actually, he just moved to Pittsburgh a couple weeks ago, but he lived in Steubenville for years. And he was into Angular, and he worked for a company in Pittsburgh. He worked for home. So he's really good, making good money on it. So I guess if you wanted to check it out, see which one you liked more, that's reasonable because there are a lot of jobs with both.
Do you think it's going out?
Yeah. Well, in terms of the popularity, relative, so React has gained in relation to Angular so much, right? I don't know the numbers for sure right now, but if I had to say, I would say React is going up and Angular is kind of going down in popularity. But like I said, it's still, there's a lot of people using Angular. I've just been working on the designs for the new applications for something that's coming to university. But the new applications are built in Angular. So, I mean, it's still in use.
Who decides that? Who decides that here? What you're going to do?
It was built by a third party vendor.
Oh.
We didn't have any. The people that probably had no idea it was built in Angular. So you can tell from the source code. If you look at the code of a website, you open in DevTools or something. If you see ng all over the place, like everything prefixed with ng, it's Angular. You can also get a really cool Chrome extension that'll tell you what every site is built on. So if you're into that, it's Wappalizer. It's like W-A-P-P-Alizer, something like that. Check that out though. I love it. I have it on my browser, and I click it, and it comes with a little drop down thing, and it tells me what server technology it's running on, front end technology, and CSS frameworks even, and it's really cool to see like oh, this site's awesome. What's it running on? And you can tell. So that's cool, and it's somewhat impressive because I can just say like, oh yeah, they built the site with this, with that. You know, it's easy.
How about Node.js?
Node. I can't believe I didn't mention Node. Sorry. All right. So has anybody heard of Node.js? Okay. So Node.js is JavaScript on the back end, server side, which is cool. So before, I don't remember what the exact year that Node.js came out, but it's been out for a while. Node.js has been around for at least longer than 5 years when I started back into web development. So before, you could not write JavaScript on the server. It was only ran in browser client side. Node.js allows you to run JavaScript on a server. So now you can have what they call full stack JavaScript developer. So you can build entire applications completely in JavaScript and not need to use any other language. Node's cool. We write stuff in Node in Marcom. We run PHP on some stuff. We've inherited some legacy stuff that runs PHP. We've inherited some legacy stuff that runs C#, .NET Framework. That's all Microsoft stuff. And but all our new stuff is in Node. The way we figure is if we need to hire people like contractors or something, or hire new people to work, it's probably cheaper to find somebody that knows one language than somebody that knows multiple languages. You know, so we're trying to go full stack JavaScript.
Do you think Node is going to replace PHP?
It's going to give it a good run. There are some really big companies that have switched everything over to Node. A few years ago, Walmart completely switched over all their distribution stuff to Node, and they noted a huge increase in performance. There are like huge angry debates online about Node and its speed and whether or not it's good. So, but it does work.
When you say Walmart, you're talking about the database piece. Node is doing the database piece instead of PHP.
Yeah. So, I mean, you'll be able to find all kinds of opinions on it online, like anything. But I've used Node. We actually just built. I didn't even build it. I had some 15-year-old from the Himalayas named Harshit. I don't think he's watching because the time zone there is like he's sleeping. But he built a passwordless authentication system for one of my projects in Node, and really cool. So Mongo database, user puts in their email, checks to make sure it's a Franciscan University email, and then saves it to a database, sends an email with a magic link, like a one-time login link. They click it, and then they can log back into the site. It's saved in their browser as a cookie, and then they can stay logged in for as long as we want them to stay logged in on that browser. They never have to log in again, no passwords to remember. Really, really cool. Actually, way more secure than passwords because there is no password. There's nothing to guess. You can't brute force attack something with no password. Yeah, so that's done in Node. It's amazing how few lines it took to do that in Node. Also, like things like you normally use PHP for, like you're building an online form, you need to take the data and send it somewhere, put it in a database, handle file uploads and things. You can do all that in Node. Same principles. We have some of our forms run with PHP on the back end, some run with Node. All the new stuff is on Node. Yeah, but it's cool. Really cool thing is the benefit is you use the exact same code on the client and server side for the most part. JavaScript, same syntax. In fact, with a lot of our React applications, we build them as progressive web apps. So a lot of the data gets cached and it runs completely offline. So we have websites right now. I have it on my phone saved to my desktop. I can put it on airplane mode. I can go into the website and use it like I normally would. If I go to submit a form, I can't submit it. But if I really wanted to, we could set it up so that it would just save that data, wait until we got a network back, and then it would send the data. So really, really cool. Actually, if you're interested in stuff like that, Google's really into that right now because they're trying to move into third world countries. This is the last really. Like right now, we have a problem where we're running multiple versions of PHP and they're not compatible with each other. So like we can't actually upgrade because too much will break. JavaScript is not like that. Like I can write JavaScript that was valid 10 years ago and it will still run. Like so there's just like technical things like that will simplify it. And then just not having to worry about learning it or hire people that know it. So I'm looking into, I got some recommendations earlier, I'm looking into some options. So potentially we might be done with WordPress completely. It is a little resource intensive, especially if you only want to use it as a headless CMS. It's resource intensive, like you have to have a more powerful server than you really need. So, and also because it's so popular, people frequently try to hack it. So you need to stay on top of the updates constantly, all your plugins, your actual version of WordPress. And if you don't, you'll get hacked. Usually it's through a plugin. That's what most of the WordPress sites. It's like somebody didn't update their slider plugin or something for 5 years, and then they get in. And that's there was a big hack on like all this legal data and stuff. So somewhere in the Caribbean, like a year or two ago, they got in through a plugin called RevSlider that we actually use on some of our sites. I mean, this was before I got here. They mentioned some of the sites. They got into that plugin. It was a shared hosting server. So once they got in there, they had access to everything. And then they were able to just spy on all the emails through this law firm. And they just spied on all the emails for a long time and got a ton of data. It's just crazy. It's just because somebody wanted to have a little slider on their homepage. Didn't update. So I would like to get away from WordPress, but there's nothing compares to just the number of people